The lights in the cabin flickered low over the Atlantic, but the main storm was in row 2A. "Sir, that metal has to go now." The flight attendant's voice cut through the hum of the engines like a horrible joke that no one found funny. Sergeant Eli Harland didn't even blink. He just sat there in his clean Tomb Guard outfit, with a navy coat and a rigid kepi hat on his lap. His white gloves were folded like a truce flag. He looked straight ahead, as calm as the marble he guarded at Arlington. Passengers craned their necks. A number of them laughed into their drinks. One kid, wide-eyed, like it was a movie prop gone wrong. To them, he was just some overdressed vet playing soldier on a reed-eye. But no one knew, not even the captain who was chatting in the galley, that the Purple Heart on his breast had been forged in an ambush in Afghanistan that killed 4 people, and the man wearing it had sworn an oath to stand silent for the unknown fallen. That silence was about to wake up the whole freaking plane by the time the wheels hit the ground. Before we dive into this story, make sure you are subscribed to the channel with the bell icon switched on, and tell us in the comment section where in the world are you watching this story from. If you think that principles like honor, bravery, and sacrifice still exist, help us preserve their memory alive. The roar of the jet engines sounded like a distant promise as the plane taxied down the runway at Dulles International, which is just outside Washington, D.C. But the whispers that cut through the cabin air were sharp and unexpected, making an ordinary ride into something extraordinary. Sergeant Eli Harland, who went as Eli to his friends in Texas, sat in first class. His Tomb Guard uniform was as immaculate as the day he first put it on. His navy blue coat fit him perfectly, and was laden with embroidered insignia from Arlington National Cemetery. The gold emblem caught the light above it like a modest salute. His black sunglasses were hooked over the brim of his kepi hat, which was dark blue and had a polished visor that shone. There were neatly folded white gloves next to it, still covered in the faint chalk dust from the tomb patrol that morning. The Purple Heart, a drab purple ribbon with a gold heart on it, was attached to his chest exactly above his heart. He got it for getting hit by shrapnel in the Afghan dust. Eli wasn't here to show off. He was going home to Amarillo to see his mom for a short while before going back to work guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier. But that metal was ready to start a conflagration that no one saw coming. Eli moved in his seat, and the stiff wool of his pants rubbed against the leather armrest. He had flown this route from D.C. a dozen times, to Dallas where he got military advantages that put him in front. The flight attendant, a lady in her 30s with a sharp uniform and sharper eyes, had let him on without looking at him twice at the gate. Lena Vargas was her name tag. She was quick and knew how to deal with all kinds of travelers, from Wall Street suits to vacationers with big eyes. The seatbelt sign went off as the jet leveled off at cruising altitude. The cabin fell into a low hum as refreshments were given around and displays came to life. Eli took out a well-used paperback book from his carry-on. It was a dog-eared copy of Gates of Fire, the story of Spartan soldiers that always brought him back to Earth after a long patrol. He didn't like to talk about trivial things, especially when he was in uniform. The Tomb Guard oath drummed into you: accuracy, respect, and silence. But Lena saw him on her second trip down the aisle, carrying a tray with coffee and water. She looked at the Purple Heart, then up at the kepi, the gloves, and the full outfit. She stopped and tilted her head, as if she had seen something out of place in her carefully organized world. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice pleasant, but with a hint of professional caution. "That's a nice uniform. Are you with a reenactment group or something? We always get people ready for conventions." Eli slowly looked up, and his dark eyes stayed steady under the brim of his unseen hat. He put the book on his knee, where his fingers were bare but calloused from holding a gun. The cover was resting softly on his knee. "No, ma'am," he said, his Texas drawl soft like gravel under boots. "I'm Sergeant Eli Harland, and I'm with the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment. I'm the Tomb Guard at Arlington. Just got off work this morning." Lena's eyebrows went up, but not in amazement, in doubt. She looked at the medal again, this time more closely, as if she were looking for a price tag. "Arlington, huh? That's really cool. But the Purple Heart, could you tell me where you acquired it? We have had people try to pull off copies previously, like from flea markets or the internet. It can make people think it's a show, which is confusing." The words hit like a bullet that missed. Eli didn't move, but his jaw stiffened a little, exactly like it would when the echoes of the 21-gun salute came too close. A few others turned their heads around him. Jake, a young man in a sweatshirt in his early 20s, stopped scrolling TikTok and leaned in, his phone already slanted as if he could smell gold content. Mrs. Evelyn Hayes, an older woman with silver-streaked hair and a cross necklace, lowered her magazine, and her eyes sharpened when she recognized Eli. Eli looked Lena in the eye. "Ma'am, this isn't a copy. It was given out at Walter Reed in 2012. Shrapnel from an IED in the province of Kandahar. When I travel for work, I have to wear it with my uniform. But if it's a problem, you need to tell me how to repair it." Lena crossed her arms and put the tray on one hip. "Protocol or not, this is a flight for business. We have families on board, and youngsters can be afraid when they see things that appear like war artifacts. The company's policy is clear. No obvious emblems that could upset passengers. Put it away alongside your hat and gloves in your bag. Fine, it will be okay." Eli's hand was close to the metal, but he didn't touch it. The Purple Heart wasn't jewelry. It was a scar carved into bronze to remember the friend he pulled from a blazing Humvee who didn't make it to the medevac. He said in a calm voice, "With all due respect, ma'am, this medal isn't for show. It's for the people who paid the price so that people like us can be safe here. I've flown like this before and had no problems, but I'll understand if you have to go higher." She hesitated, and her smile turned into a fake one. "Go up. Not yet. Just think about it, okay? For the sake of the cottage." Lena turned around, and her sensible flats clicked down the aisle into the kitchen. But the air had changed. Jake was already talking quietly into his phone. "Guys, there's drama on this flight. A soldier guy in full gear is getting yelled at by the attendant. Is this true?" Evelyn moved forward in her chair and whispered something that only Eli could hear. "Son, I recognize that uniform. Before Iraq stole my son, he wore something like this. You stand your ground. If I've ever seen one, that's a tomb guard." Eli nodded to her, a little thankful gesture. "The kind you gave each other in a peaceful graveyard at dawn." "Thanks, ma'am. Just wanting to get back home." He picked up his book again, but the words were hard to read. It felt like the uniform was heavier now. But not because of the wool, it was because of the eyes on it. The people who were curious or unsure, the ones who thought they saw a costume instead of a promise. Jake gave Eli a thumbs up from across the way as the drink cart went by. "Hey dude, that was really cool. You genuinely protect the unknown soldier? That's just plain legendary." Eli was able to smile a little. "Yeah, buddy. All day, every day, no matter what." Jake smiled, but his phone stayed out, taking pictures of the mood. Word was getting around, but it was gradual, like smoke from a suppressed round. Lena came back 10 minutes later, this time with a clipboard and a stronger jaw. She had called the pilot on the radio, which was probably typical procedure for possible problems. "Sergeant Harland," she spoke louder now, getting more looks. "I've talked to the captain. He agrees that we need to keep things neutral. That Purple Heart, and indeed the complete uniform, are getting a lot of attention. Please take off the medal and put the other things away. Up here it can't look like a military display." Eli closed his book with a quiet snap, and the kepi on his lap moved. The cabin got silent, forks stopped in the middle of bites, and screens dimmed as people listened. "Ma'am, I understand that you're doing your job," he continued, his voice calm as a rifle bolt. "But this uniform is not optional. I came directly from patrol and only changed my weapon, which I checked at security. The Purple Heart stays. It's not about me. It's about the oath." The cosmetics made Lena's cheeks look red. "This is my cabin, oath or not. I've dealt with spoiled passengers before, such CEOs showing off their Rolexes and influencers with false gold. It just so happens that yours is thematic. If you don't do what I say, I'll have to ask you to get off the plane at the next stop. Maybe Dallas. That hurt like a punch in the gut. To plane to commemorate the dead?" Eli's mind went back, not to the airplane, but to the valley in Afghanistan that was full of dust. The convoy rolled out at early, with the sun burning the hoods. His group laughed about cold beers back home. Then the boom. The IED ripped the front car split, and flames shot up into the sky. Eli was in the second truck, and when he jumped out, the door sprang open. He was already wearing gloves, so he grabbed his friend Ramirez by the collar. Shrapnel whistled by, and one piece cut into his side like hot butter. "Get out of the way, Eli! Get out of the way!" Ramirez had yelled. Eli carried him 20 yards across the dirt, nonetheless with gunfire from small guns overhead. The doctors at Bagram took out 147 fragments from his stomach. A week later, the Purple Heart was affixed to a medical gown. The citation said that the wounds were suffered while fighting an enemy of the United States. But to Eli, it was Ramirez's ghost saying, "You wear it for me, hermano." He shook it off and went back into the cabin's recycled air. "Ma'am," he spoke louder now but still calm, "have you ever thought about why we fight? Not for fame, so that people like you and me can fight over coffee without worrying. That medal is the receipt. If it disturbs someone, tell them to come to me. Let me explain. Lena opened her mouth and then closed it. A murmur spread. Jake said, "This is going viral," as Evelyn held on to her jewelry. Footsteps came from the door to the cockpit. Captain Ray Donovan came out. He was in his mid-50s, had salt and pepper hair under his cap, and looked like a man who had spent hours flying over enemy territory during Desert Storm. He nodded to Lena and then to Eli. "Sergeant Harland," Captain Donovan remarked, "let's hear both sides quickly and politely." Lena lunged in first, her words spilling out. "Captain, he's dressed like a soldier, with a cap, gloves, and this large medal. It's scary. There are families there with kids, and one of them already complained about the battle. Policy says to stay neutral." Donovan looked at Eli, his eyes moving to the Purple Heart with the quiet respect of a fellow veteran. "Sergeant, what do you think?" Eli stood midway, and the coat he was wearing pulled tight across his shoulders. "Sir, I'm on my way home on leave. Uniform rules for traveling while on job. The award was earned in Kandahar in 2012. Ambush on a convoy. I took my gunner out. He didn't make it. 3 others did not. I wear it pinned like I'm supposed to in their honor. I'll take care of it if it's a problem, but it feels like hiding their names when they hide it." The cabin got very quiet. You could hear the engine's steady thrum and the ice clinking in cups that had been left behind. Donovan wiped his chin and looked at Lena. "Do you check his ID when he boards?" She nodded, but not happily. "Yes, sir. It's real. And the uniform. Did you break any rules?" "One small... No, but a comment on our..." Donovan held up a hand, but it was soft. "Thanks for being careful, Lena. First and foremost, safety. But this isn't a breach. This is duty." He turned on his mic, and his voice came through the intercom loud and clear. "Hey everyone, this is your captain. A quick word. Sergeant Harland, a tomb guard from Arlington, is on board to protect our nation's heroes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That outfit, it's not a costume, it's a promise. If somebody is upset, come talk to me. Let's show the man and his brothers the respect they deserve. Back to your movies." A beat of silence, and then applause. At first, they were spread out throughout Evelyn's row, but then they grew like a wave. Jake yelled and pumped his fist. "Yes, of course." A man 2 seats back jumped up and saluted in a strange way, with a kid on his hip. Evelyn got up, tears streaming down her face, and walked over with her hand extended. "Sergeant, my Tommy was in the army, lost in Fallujah. Just like you, he wore a Purple Heart with pride. Thank you for keeping his memory alive." Ellie took her hand and gripped it, being gentle like he was holding glass. "Ma'am, we have Tommy's watch safe with us at Arlington. We won't forget." Lena stood still in the aisle, her clipboard hanging by her side. Her expression crumpled, not rage, but something deep down like a crack in armor. In 2009, a roadside bomb killed her brother. He had been a Marine and had earned a Purple Heart, but his grief had turned into barriers, which had turned into snap judgments. Seeing Ellie now with his uniform rigid and his medal shining, she saw her brother in that steady stare. She moved closer, her voice barely over the applause that was receding. "Sergeant Eli, I was incorrect. My brother has one precisely like that. I thought I was keeping things peaceful, but I was really hiding from it. I'm sorry. Really." Eli nodded, and there was no anger in his eyes. "There's no need to apologize, ma'am. We all have scars. Yours just wear differently." She forced a tearful smile, and then rushed to the galley, her shoulders feeling lighter. The cabin moved back. Jake smiled sheepishly and put his phone in his pocket. "Man, I was going to post it, but no. This is just between us." He pushed a water bottle across the aisle. "On me, for the guard." Ellie took it with a fake hat tip. "Thanks, friend. Drink up. Life's too short not to." Donovan gave Ellie's shoulder a pat before going back. "Good man. You don't have to pay for coffee. And if you ever want to switch seats, just utter the word." As the plane droned on toward Dallas, people started talking. Not whispers of drama, but stories. The father with the child questioned about patrols in Arlington. "How can you stay so still in the heat?" Ellie laughed softly. "Practice, sir, and remember why. Every tick of the clock is for someone who stopped theirs too soon." Evelyn stayed a little longer to show off pictures on her phone. Tommy was in desert camis and smiled a lot. "He would have loved to meet you," she continued. "That tomb, it's sacred ground." Ellie paid attention, listened closely. The uniform had become a bridge between generations of sorrow. The cabin seemed like family, but not the sort that was forced. It was the kind that was made in fire. Lena gave out food with additional smiles, even giving Eli a chocolate bar. "Peace offering," she said softly. He gently waved it away. "Already at peace, ma'am." Under a Texas sunset that was as orange as a flare, the wheels kissed the asphalt at DFW. Eli put his things together, holding the kepi under his arm and the gloves in his pocket. The Purple Heart was still proud. The cabin erupted in one last round of applause as he stepped off the plane. Evelyn yelled, "Sergeant, come back soon. Stay frosty." Jake screamed. Eli's parents waited at arrivals in the steamy night, hugging him tightly around the stiff collar of his uniform. "Son, I'm proud of you. Always, Ma." He held her tight, and the metal felt chilly against his chest. Amarillo wasn't the only place that felt like home. Knowing the weight you carried made it possible for others to stand up. 2 weeks later, a letter with a DC postmark came to the barracks. Lena's penmanship was clean and had loops in it. "Sergeant Harlan Eli, that flight made me a different person. My brother's Purple Heart pin is included, even if it's small. I wear it under my uniform now. Not to show it off, but to remember. Thanks for standing still when I couldn't. Good breezes, Lena." Eli put it next to his own, making a silent addition to the shadow box on his wall. He went back to Arlington and started patrolling again, under the marble stare of the amphitheater. Navy blue coat with straight lines, kepi lined up and exact, chalk-white gloves. The changing of the guard echoed, with arms swinging perfectly and boots thundering together. The tourists were quiet, but Eli's eyes were on the tomb, where the eternal flame was dimming low. "We don't only salute medals in the U.S., we applaud the men who wear them, because they protect our ghosts as we seek our dreams. Eli Harlan is only one among thousands, quiet guards in a loud world, and if you have a story of quiet power, tell it. Sometimes the loudest honors come without a word,